When being left with the burning third degree letdown of new games, I often turn back to the older games. Titans of a second golden generation. Orange Box, Left 4 Dead 2, Dark Souls, Far Cry 2, and best of all, Mass Effect 2. Colossal beings not even Kratos could take down, but unfortunately, it seems like one being is able to wipe these off of the face of the earth. Microsoft, the big company owned by Steve Jobs, has released a document on its Xbox 360 marketplace. Those games that I mentioned, and a handful of other titles, are going to be removed from the option of purchase starting on the 7th of February. They made a list full of games, and the USA and the UK list are fairly similar, and other countries have varying removals. And I just know that this is a psyop, because you're removing Mass Effect 2, but not 1 or 3? Mass Effect 2, objectively the best one made out of the trilogy?
But I'm looking forward to killing myself.
Now obviously all those games are more accessible elsewhere, but this sort of serves more as foreboding, especially when it comes to game ownership. Luckily, if you own these games beforehand, you are still able to download them, but how long for? You know, when are the servers gonna completely... Just like those games on Steam, which the devs pulled for being asset flips or just straight up ass garbage, you can still download them if you own them, which is a plus, but what happens when the servers shut down? Or when Microsoft migrates to a new system, nullifying the Xbox 360's online services? Then obviously your last option of ownership is the guarantee of the physical copy. Or other than that, the new wave of emulation. The PS3 and Xbox are getting more tighter and steady softwares to run emulation, which only better helps preserve the library, because let's face it, time ain't slowing down. Those games, they're getting old, and games nowadays are living faster. Literally, a new game will come out and look decomposed by next week. Our attention spans and concept of time are just so fucked right now. And it's weird because it feels like the age of the 7th generation wasn't that long ago, but it began 17 years coming on to 18 years ago, and is now slipping even more into the threat of limited access. Don't get it wrong, I like it when the industry evolves. It's important creatively and technologically. Keeping the medium fresh and new, of course, we really need that. How else could I live without Forspoken?
I just move shit.
But sometimes you just want to boot up some Blue Dragon and experience that red ring of death one more time before wrapping your Xbox in a towel and slapping the bottom like you're engaging in some BDSM. I think even buying the physical copies are going to become more pricey as a result too. You ever go into a secondhand store or a sex in the UK and you browse around and you see some PS2 games that are just way more of a price than what they should be? All those old Nintendo, PS2, N64, and SNES games are just so pricey now. Actually, they may just be even more worth than the retail price scaled for inflation. Like, the older the games get, the more limited access you'll have to them physically. Some copies may scratch up, be unreadable, lost wherever in the world in like some pit with the Atari games and ET, or just be hoarded by some neckbeards or myself. Although that could be the case, it does feel like these price tags are a little arbitrary and a little off topic, but what's even weirder is that in some cases, I found some games cheaper in Japan, like this copy of Metal Gear Solid on the PS2. On eBay, it goes for around $30, whilst in Japan, it was $6. And the quality is great too. Now, this game is a different language, but that was because I bought it while I was away in Japan. Video coming out soon on my time there, by the way. You should subscribe if you're interested. Here's a little snippet of it. In abundance, this map is huge. You see that mountain? You can climb it. You see that forest? You can end up in a vlog. Okay, so a very recent example is the game as old as time. You, I, and your deceased Tamagotchi pet, GoldenEye 64. Now, GoldenEye 64 was recently re-released for the first time in 26 years on the Xbox and the Nintendo Switch. Sure, the quality of the ports are questionable, but that was 26 years of contracts, licensing and ownership issues, and now there's finally an easier way to play this game without emulation. For which, the only way to obtain this game is through an overpriced subscription to rent old games, Game Pass, or to buy a digital version of Rare Replay and download the update. Nope, you cannot even own a physical copy of Rare Replay and download the update. Modern Vintage Gamer did an immaculate video on this, by the way. He makes a ton of great content on emulation and retro games. You should check him out. He makes some good stuff. So now you have GoldenEye 64. It's on your system, or you're renting it, and in light of Microsoft's recent premature pullout of the starfish of gamers, what happens after the servers for these systems close in 20 years time, if not more or less? With Nintendo, you have zero way to play it unless they make a brand new online service to replace it. And with Xbox, you best be sure you don't uninstall the game. You remember when PT was pulled from the PlayStation Store, and if you uninstalled it, that was it. There was no other way to get it again. that was it. The results from that was a plethora of PS4 consoles listed on eBay with PT installed. And they're still there today because nobody is paying
$400
for a 30-minute YouTube experience. And the issue of digital game ownership is akin to the shutting down of online servers. Nothing is around forever, and that earth-shattering truth was heard when Halo 3 and Reach, one of the largest online multiplayer games, shut down a whiles ago. Fortunately, there's the Master Chief Collection to suffice for that, but some people have a definitive way on how they want to engage with those games, especially with leveling, cosmetics, customization and stuff. The brutal reality to come to terms with is that not everything will be officially around forever, and that a lot of experiences are always going to be a you had to be there moment. Destiny 2, for example, you cannot play the vanilla game anymore. But to be fair, that is just an MMO thing. For example, I feel like I missed out on WoW's Wrath of the Lich King because I was too busy grinding Call of Duty or something, getting max prestige for a game that was only gonna last for about a year or 4. But I swear, man, fans of media just have some sort of superpower, you know? Preserving anything and everything through emulation, third-party hosts, or just continue playing a game just to present the servers from closing down?
His bravery in the face of impossible odds reflects great credit upon himself and the UNSC. The Navy has lost one of its best.
For example, with the Xbox emulation I mentioned, you have the Xenia, and I feel like Xenia is the start of keeping Xbox's library from being forgotten. For that to happen would be such a tragic loss of media. It would be a crime against gamers, if you will. And even with online services having been kept on life support. For example, some World of Warcraft expansions had private servers, and the original Xbox it has a third-party server where you can play the original Halo online. It's just a shame that companies like Nintendo hardcore crack down on these alternatives on harder to access products. Like that one time Blizzard closed one of the largest private servers for World of Warcraft.
Look at that. That is how many people showed up to say goodbye to this server. You want to know why that doesn't happen in retail? Because it fucking sucks! How about you just make a good game and then you don't have to take down your old game that's yours. Just put the old game up, you'll make the money back!
I know you have classic WoW, but some players want that authentic stuff, you know? That Walter White blue crystal. Nintendo providing access to the older games and putting a price tag on it is inherently not a problem at all, but the entire point of emulation is that it guarantees the oldies will always be around. Locking them behind an online subscription service does not. There's a bit of sweetness to it all, and you can't help but appreciate the dedication and love that a community will have for something on which its time is up. So essentially, gamers are just feeding a tube of crushed up Doritos and Mountain Dew into the pharaoh sarcophagus of the 6th generation right now. So yeah, I just saw that tweet today. I thought I'd make a quick video on it, and I'm still working on the Japan video. I think you guys might enjoy it. I don't think it'll do well, but if it does, hey, maybe I will become Japanese.